Hello, this is Wendy Bialis-Odell, the Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Educational Standards. I am here with Chris Rouleau, Coordinator of Curriculum, to provide you with an overview of work that has been completed this spring and what you can expect for next school year with regard to standards-based instruction and grading and support for teaching and learning. In this presentation, I will share information about the restructuring of support that will be provided to all teachers through the Curriculum, Instruction, and Educational Standards Department beginning next school year. I will also highlight changes that were made to the 2013-14 standards-based grading benchmarks based on feedback received from teachers. Finally, Chris and I will share information about the recent grade level meetings we conducted and the action plans to address many of the concerns teachers have expressed. You will learn what you can expect for next year with regard to new instructional materials and program changes. As you may know, the curriculum department will be restructured next year to better reflect the needs expressed by teachers and the nature of our integrated approach to providing support for standards-based instruction. Historically, our department has been structured around specific curriculum areas. Beginning next year, our structure will be aligned by level, elementary and secondary. We no longer will have subject area curriculum specialists. Rather, we will have 8 staff development assessment specialists serving the needs of our sites. After budget reductions, we had budget capacity for 6 positions, and our plan was to have 3 positions assigned to elementary sites and 3 assigned to secondary sites. However, thanks to additional funding from Student Services, 2 additional positions were secured, and the curriculum department was able to hire 8 staff development assessment specialists, 4 for elementary and 4 for secondary. The staff development assessment specialist and the curriculum specialist positions are different. Our current positions serve all K-12 teachers in 1 or more content areas. The new staff development assessment specialists will be clustered around grade bands and assigned to specific sites, where they will support all teachers in all content areas. Their work will be focused on supporting teachers in implementing the curriculum, use of research-based instructional strategies, and assessment development. The specialists will work with each site's principal and staff development team to determine a staff development plan for the school year that aligns site and system staff development priorities. We know the needs of sites and departments vary. We believe that by assigning specialists to sites, we will be able to differentiate professional development in a manner that is meaningful to teachers. And by working collaboratively, the specialists will help share resources and effective instructional practices across content areas and schools. Please be assured that the program improvement process and the content-specific work will continue. Teacher leadership has historically been essential to the success of program improvement and will continue to play an important role. You can expect to see your site's staff development assessment specialist in your building on a regular basis. Our elementary specialists next year will be Robin Gonzalez, Shelley Drake, Tammy Provart, and Sarah Luby Morris. We look forward to working with you in our new structure. The second topic I want to share with you is around the standards-based grading benchmarks. On March 22nd, I sent to you a copy of the revised benchmarks for the 2013-14 school year, along with the standards-based grading continuous improvement plan. I would like to take just a few minutes to review the benchmark information with you. As you know, we have been working with a 3-year implementation plan for standards-based grading. However, based on teacher feedback, we made an adjustment to the 3-year implementation plan and added a 4th year. You will see in the newly revised benchmark document that next year, 2013-14, We will continue to work on current benchmarks without adding any new benchmarks. The specific benchmarks we will continue to work on include academic misconduct, assessments, formative feedback, multiple opportunities, and the 0 to 4 scale. This benchmark specifically relates to grading at the secondary level. We know, however, that through our assessment work, we will address concerns about better defining the elementary 1 through 4 scale as well. All of these benchmarks are highlighted in yellow on the benchmark document. There have also been some language changes to provide greater clarity, and those changes were highlighted in green. The third topic to discuss is feedback from the recent grade level meetings and the action plans to address many of the concerns teachers have expressed. We held meetings with teachers at each grade level, with attendees representing most sites at each meeting. Teachers expressed their needs in the areas of instructional materials, assessments, and other areas such as the desired report card revisions. In the meetings, we heard common themes across all grade levels. Teachers told us that our K-6 report cards need to be revised. Our assessments need to be revised or created. We need to check them for quality and align them across content areas as much as we can. Teachers expressed a desire to have all the assessments more aligned with our instructional materials, and to make it all make sense and be manageable. We know that we have some gaps in instructional materials that need to be addressed, and we heard from every level that a clear scope and sequence for reading language arts is needed. We know that for elementary teachers, the curriculum cycle is in constant motion. As the state changes standards and we learn more about our learners and how to better differentiate instruction, we need to make changes, and those changes may not always align with the 7-year curriculum cycle. We are committed to responding to student needs and at the same time doing it in a way that is supportive of teachers. To that end, in the next several slides, Chris Rouleau will share specifics for your grade level about what you can expect for next year with regard to instructional materials, assessment development, and other curriculum needs.
Hello, 6th grade teachers. It's Chris Rouleau. Wendy's just described the themes that we heard from all of our grade level meetings. And in the next few slides, I'll share some specific information for 6th grade that will help you to plan for next year and understand what is and isn't changing. First of all, we did hear from all grade levels that revisions to the report cards are needed. We heard that revisions need to be made in all areas so that we can create a more unified and clear report card. These revisions will ultimately result in fewer standards to mark, revised standard language that will be much more parent-friendly and still clearly reflects grade level learning, and we plan to institute overall marks in the areas of science, social studies, health, art, and technology literacy. We'll list the reporting standards underneath each of those subjects, but you'll only need to mark a single mark rather than a separate mark for each reporting standard. Finally, we'll return to using plus and minus marks along with the OS and N for the social skills and work habits section of the report card. These revisions will be drafted by CIES staff and we'll share them with teachers before the end of this school year. We'll have everything complete with your revisions to our revisions and ready to submit before the end of June so they are ready to be used next school year. In addition to report card changes, we know there are also changes for some content areas. Some are the result of curriculum cycle work, and some are the result of changes and student needs that you've identified and materials needs that you've identified. First, in reading language arts, we are going into our first year of adoption in the curriculum cycle. We know there's work to be done and there are materials that you need. In addition to our core instructional materials, we heard a request for more bookroom books, including informational texts and classroom library support, and especially texts that are linked to social studies and science content. At this time, I'm uncertain about just how much of our capital budget we'll be able to allocate to these kinds of books, but I do recognize, as does our whole department, that this is a need, and we will do what we can to address it, budget permitting. I can tell you with certainty, though, that we will address the following things in the areas of reading and language arts. First, we've heard requests to address instructional materials for writing for a number of years, but we've not been in a position to take care of it. Now we are. There has been a committee working this year to review and recommend a writing program for us to use district-wide. The recommendation is that we will adopt a new core program for all sites. It's the Benchmark Writers Workshop program, of which Steve Dunn is one of the authors. Many of you have received training from Steve Dunn, either in your sites or at the recent summer institutes. Everyone will receive training in the fall. Also in the area of reading, we heard a very clear request from all grades to have a consistent scope and sequence. For the last 7 years, Harcourt Trophies has been our core program, and the Harcourt scope and sequence was what was followed. However, we have new standards now, and we need to make sure that as you are moving away from teaching to the book and you're teaching the standards, that we have that laid out in a scope and sequence format that's easy for everyone to follow, so we have a guaranteed curriculum for all students, and so the teachers know exactly what the curriculum expectations are for their grade level and those that come before and after. Finally, we also heard in the area of reading and language arts that we need to continue to work on our assessments and rubrics, to streamline and revise them, to make sure that we have consistent quality and that our rubrics are matched, and that across not only reading but all content areas, we have some common understanding of what we mean by the level of rigor on the rubrics. We also will work to identify those that we really need to use and those that could be considered optional. In math, there are no changes for the core instructional materials for 6th grade, but we did hear a desire to really have some conversation around aligning courses and standards for courses 1, 2, and 3, and how those match with 7th grade courses. We also heard a real desire to talk about how we make decisions about student placement in 6th grade math courses. Teachers asked about manipulatives for 6th grade, and we can address some of those needs. And finally, while 6th grade teachers were reasonably satisfied with many of the math assessments, we were asked about making sure that we really do raise the rigor on some of the assessments, and especially take a look at revising some of the rubrics. This also will be writing teamwork this summer. The last thing that teachers made a request about during our grade level meeting was to think about how we can better align some of the professional development experiences that you have, such as Thinking Math or the Region 11 math training, so that what teachers learn in those professional development things that our district really supports, how it matches the instructional program that you're using in your classroom. In science, there are no changes, no new kits. You will continue to teach models and designs, force and motion, and light and color. The reporting standards have all been revised and aligned to kits, and assessments will be created in a manageable way. The gaps that have been identified between standards and instructional materials will be addressed this summer through writing, and if we have additional materials that are needed, we'll take a look at how we can support that. In social studies, there's a big change for 6th grade, and that's how you'll spend the bulk of your time during today's workshop. There are new state standards for all grade levels, but 6th grade has had a significant change in shifting away from U.S. history to the Minnesota Studies course. This has been talked about at the state level for several years, and finally it's come into play. Excuse me. There is a course that has been designed specifically for 6th grade that uses an electronic platform. We will have it available both in Moodle and Google Siteform in our district, and you'll be receiving training today on that course. We are committed to having 6th grade Moodle course specialists, if you will, to continue to provide support for you with this move into a digital learning platform for our students. And finally, in the areas of art, health, and technology literacy, we've heard across the board that we need to take a look at making sure that our reporting standards, our assessments, and our rubrics are not only aligned, but that they make sense for the demands of an elementary classroom. And through writing teamwork this summer, we will make those revisions. In summary, you can expect that there are a couple of things that will be new. Benchmark Writers Workshop, Minnesota Studies course, and the by popular demand scope and sequence for reading language arts are all things that we will be using beginning next year. As materials are developed over the summer, or as our Benchmark Writers Workshop materials come in after July 1st, we'll make sure that people know when they're available. If we can get the materials and you'd like to pick them up early, we will make those things available so you can do that. We know that we need to do revisions to the report cards and assessments, and that work will begin immediately. We heard some needs for alignment, making sure that your core instructional materials are aligned with the standards, that we are very clear about what needs to be taught and what things we don't need to teach, that our assessments and supplemental materials are also aligned with the core instructional materials and standards, and that that's clearly communicated to teachers. And finally, you can expect a tremendous amount of support through the staff development assessment specialists and the rest of us who support curriculum instruction and educational standards in our district. Thanks for your attention to this video. Those of you who have been in a room with me in the last couple of weeks will know that my voice is a little bit improved. So I hope that you've been able to hear everything that I've had to say. I will be putting this up on the new CIES website, and all other grade levels will be there. So for your viewing pleasure, you can watch 7 of these. I'll also be putting it into a single document so that you can go back and review those things that we said we would be doing and what you can expect next year. We know that this is important work and that our collective commitment to improving and aligning our standards, instructional materials, assessments, and reporting practices is critical to our students' and teachers' success. And I speak on behalf of the Department of Curriculum Instruction and Educational Standards in telling you that we are committed to working collaboratively with you for your success and your students' success. Have a great rest of your day.